Taeho Kim wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the broken atmospheric processor in his workshop. The machine was supposed to help clean the air on their new planet, but it kept making strange noises and shutting down. He had been working on it for 3 days straight, living on instant noodles and coffee. His apartment was a mess. Dirty clothes covered the floor. Empty food containers sat on every surface, and papers with his engineering drawings were scattered everywhere. Taeho did not care about cleaning. His work was too important. The people in New Sol Colony needed these machines to breathe properly on this alien world. The doorbell rang. Taeho groaned and looked at the time display on his wall. It was past midnight. Who would visit him so late? He stumbled to the door, stepping over a pile of dirty shirts. When he opened the door, his mouth fell open. A tall woman stood in the hallway, but she was not human. Her skin was a beautiful silver blue color that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. She was taller than most humans, maybe 7 feet, with long limbs and graceful movements. Her eyes were large and a deep purple color. Her hair was white and moved like it was floating in water. "Hello," she said in perfect Korean, though her voice had a musical quality that sounded different from any human voice. "My name is Nari. I am sorry to visit you so late." Taeho blinked several times. He had seen aliens before in the colony, but never one standing at his door in the middle of the night. Can I help you?" "I hope so," Nari said. She smiled, and Taeho noticed her teeth were perfectly white but slightly pointed. "I would like to work for you." "Work for me?" Taeho looked confused. "I'm just an engineer. I don't have a company or anything." "I know who you are, Taeho Kim," Nari said. "You work on the machines that help humans live on this planet. You are very good at your job, but you work too much and forget to take care of yourself." Taeho felt his face turn red. It was true, but how did she know? "How do you know about me?" "My people have been watching the human colony," Nari explained. "We are very interested in how humans work and live. I would like to learn by helping you with your daily life. I can clean your home, prepare your food, and make sure you are healthy while you work." "You want to be my maid?" Taeho asked. This was the strangest conversation he had ever had. "If that is what you call it, yes," Nari said. "But I would like to learn about everything you do. Your work, your habits, your thoughts. Humans are very different from my people." Taeho looked back at his messy apartment, then at the alien woman who wanted to clean it. He was too tired to think clearly. "What kind of alien are you?" "I am Vellani," Nari said. "We come from a planet far from here. We have been watching human colonies for many years. Humans are very interesting to us. Why?" "Because you solve problems in ways we never think of," Nari said. "You use your emotions and instincts to find answers. My people are very logical, but sometimes logic is not enough." Taeho rubbed his eyes. He was exhausted, his apartment was a disaster, and he had not eaten a proper meal in days. Having someone to help might actually be useful, and she seemed nice enough even if she was an alien. "You really want to clean my apartment and cook for me?" he asked. "Yes, and I want to learn about your work too if you will teach me," Nari said. "I don't have much money to pay you," Taeho said. "I do not need money," Nari said. "Learning about humans is payment enough for me." Taeho thought about it for a moment. What was the worst that could happen? "Okay, but I have rules. Don't touch my work equipment without asking. Don't throw away any of my papers even if they look like trash. And don't wake me up unless the building is on fire." Nari smiled brightly. "I agree to your rules." "There's a guest room down the hall," Taeho said, stepping aside to let her in. "You can sleep there. But I'm warning you, this place is really messy." Nari walked into the apartment and looked around. She did not seem shocked by the mess. Instead, she looked curious, like she was studying everything. "This is perfect," she said. "I can learn so much from how you live." "Right," Taeho said. "Well, I'm going back to work." "Good night." "Good night, Taeho Kim," Nari said. "Thank you for letting me stay." Taeho went back to his workshop but found it hard to concentrate. He kept thinking about the alien woman in his guest room. What did she really want? Why was she interested in humans? And why did she pick him? He looked at the broken atmospheric processor and sighed. Tomorrow he would have to figure out not only how to fix the machine, but also how to live with an alien maid who wanted to study everything he did. As he worked late into the night, he could hear soft sounds from the main room. It sounded like Nari was cleaning, but the noises were strange, like humming mixed with the sound of wind chimes. Whatever she was doing, she was being very quiet about it. Taeho yawned and looked at his drawings. Maybe having help would not be so bad. At least he might finally get some decent food and clean clothes. And if she was really interested in his work, maybe she could even help him solve some problems. He did not know that this simple decision would change everything, not just for him, but for the entire relationship between humans and aliens in the galaxy. Tejo woke up to the smell of something amazing. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The alien woman, Nari, was living in his apartment now. He looked at his clock and was shocked. It was almost noon. He had slept for 10 hours straight, which never happened. He stumbled out of his bedroom and stopped. His apartment looked completely different. Everything was clean and organized. The floors were spotless. His papers were neatly stacked on his desk and all his dirty clothes were gone. The air smelled fresh and pleasant. "Good morning, Tejo Kim," Nari said from the kitchen. She was wearing simple human clothes, a white shirt and dark pants, but she still looked otherworldly with her silver blue skin and floating white hair. "You didn't have to clean everything," Tejo said, feeling embarrassed. "I wanted to understand how you prefer your living space," Nari said. "I studied where you put things and tried to organize them in a way that makes sense for your work patterns." Tejo looked around again. She was right. Everything was exactly where he would want it, but cleaner and more organized than he had ever managed. "How did you know where to put everything?" "I watched how you moved through the space last night," Nari said. "Humans have patterns in their behavior that are very interesting." She handed him a plate of food that looked and smelled incredible. It was not Korean food, but it was not completely alien either. Somehow it seemed like a perfect mix of familiar and new flavors. "What is this?" Tejo asked, taking a bite. It was delicious. "I studied the foods in your kitchen and created something that would give you proper nutrition while matching your taste preferences," Nari said. "Humans often eat foods that taste good but are not healthy for their bodies. You figured out what I like to eat just by looking at my kitchen?" Tejo asked. "And by observing the chemical reactions in your body when you smell different things," Nari said casually. Tejo almost choked on his food. "You can do that?" "My people have abilities that humans do not have," Nari said. "We can sense many things about the people around us. Is this uncomfortable for you?" Tejo thought about it. It was strange but not scary, as long as you're not reading my thoughts or anything. "I cannot read thoughts exactly," Nari said, "but I can sense emotions and physical needs. Right now you are curious about me but also worried about your work." She was right. Tejo had been thinking about the broken atmospheric processor all morning. "I need to get back to my workshop," he said. "May I watch you work?" Nari asked. "I am very interested in how humans solve technical problems." Tejo shrugged. "Sure, but it's pretty boring. I'm just trying to fix a machine that keeps breaking down." They went to his workshop and Tejo showed Nari the atmospheric processor. He explained how it was supposed to work, taking the alien air from outside and making it safe for humans to breathe. "The problem is here," Tejo said, pointing to a section of the machine. "This part keeps overheating and shutting down the whole system. I've tried different cooling methods, but nothing works for very long." Nari looked at the machine carefully. She walked around it, sometimes touching different parts with her long, elegant fingers. "What is the chemical composition of the air on this planet?" she asked. Tejo showed her the data on his computer. Nari studied it for a long time, asking questions about things Tejo had never thought about. "Why do you use this filtering method?" she asked. "Because that's how atmospheric processors work," Tejo said. "It's the standard design. But what if the standard design is not right for this planet's air?" Nari asked. "What if you need a completely different approach?" Tejo had never thought about that. He had been trying to fix the existing design instead of thinking about whether the design itself was wrong. "What do you mean?" "On my planet, we do not fight against the environment," Nari said. "We work with it. Maybe instead of forcing this planet's air to become like Earth's air, you could find a way to make it healthy for humans without changing it so much." This was a completely new way of thinking about the problem. Tejo spent the rest of the day showing Nari how the machine worked and listening to her questions. She had a way of asking about things that made him see his work differently. "Why do you assume this chemical is harmful to humans?" She asked about one component of the alien air. "Because our tests show it causes breathing problems," Tejo said. "But what if it only causes problems because of how it mixes with the other chemicals during processing?" Nari asked. "What if it is actually helpful by itself?" Late in the afternoon, Minho Park, Taiho's colleague, came to visit. Minho was a short, serious man who worked on the colony's power systems. He stopped in the doorway when he saw Nari. "Taiho, who is this?" Minho asked in a low voice. "This is Nari," Taiho said. "She's helping me around the apartment." Minho looked suspicious. "She's Villani, isn't she? What does she really want?" "She wants to learn about human culture," Taiho said. "And you believe that?" Minho asked. "Taiho, the Villani are one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Why would one of them want to be your maid?" Taiho had been wondering the same thing, but Nari had been nothing but helpful. "Maybe she's telling the truth. Be careful," Minho said. "Aliens always have hidden reasons for everything they do. Don't trust her too much." After Minho left, Nari was very quiet. "Your friend does not like me," she said. "He's just worried about me," Taiho said. "Humans can be suspicious of things they don't understand." "Are you suspicious of me too?" Nari asked. Taiho looked at her. She had cleaned his apartment, made him the best food he had eaten in months, and given him new ideas about his work. "Not really," he said. "You've been nothing but helpful." "Good," Nari said, smiling. "Because I am learning so much from you. Humans are even more interesting than my people thought." That evening, as Taiho worked on new designs based on Nari's questions, he realized something had changed. For the first time in months, he was excited about his work again. Having someone to talk to about his ideas, someone who asked different questions, made everything more interesting. He did not know that Nari was learning much more than just human culture. She was studying him specifically, watching how his mind worked when he faced problems, and she was starting to understand something that her people had never realized, that humans were not just different from Villani, they were special in ways that could change everything. The alarm started blaring at 3 in the morning. Taiho jumped out of bed and rushed to his computer. Red warning messages covered the screen. The main atmospheric processing plant for the entire colony was failing. Without it, the air would become dangerous for humans within 2 days. Nari appeared in the doorway, already dressed. "What is happening?" "Emergency at the processing plant," Taiho said, throwing on his clothes. "The main system is breaking down. This is bad, really bad." They rushed to the central plant where Taiho found chaos. Engineers and technicians were running everywhere, trying to fix multiple failures at once. Dayun Lee, the colony administrator, was shouting orders while looking very worried. "Taiho, thank goodness you're here," Dayun said. "We've lost 3 of the 5 main processors. The other 2 are showing signs of the same problem. We have maybe 40 hours before the air becomes unsafe." Taiho looked at the massive machines. They were much bigger versions of the one he had been working on in his workshop. "Have you tried the standard repair procedures?" "Everything," said another engineer. "We've replaced parts, updated software, tried different cooling systems. Nothing works. The machines run for a few hours, then overheat and shut down. We're preparing to evacuate the colony," Dayun said. "We can't risk people getting sick from bad air." "Wait," Taiho said.
"Give me some time to look at this."
"Maybe there's another solution." "Taiho, we've had our best people working on this for hours," Dayun said. "What can you do that they can't?" Taiho looked at Nari, who was studying the machines with intense interest. Over the past weeks, her questions had completely changed how he thought about atmospheric processing. "Maybe that different perspective could help here too." "Let me try a different approach," Taiho said. "If it doesn't work, you can still evacuate." Dayun nodded reluctantly. "You have 12 hours. After that, we start moving people." Taiho and Nari spent the next hour studying the failing machines. The problem was the same as in his workshop, but much worse. The processors were trying to force the planet's air to become exactly like Earth's air, but the chemical reactions were creating too much heat. "This is not going to work," Nari said quietly. "The approach is wrong." "What do you mean?" Taiho asked. "Your people are trying to make this planet's air into Earth's air," Nari said. "But this planet is not Earth. Its air has different chemicals, different pressures, different properties. Fighting against that will always create problems. But humans need Earth-like air to breathe safely," Taiho said. "Do they?" Nari asked. "Or do they just need air that will not harm them?" "Those are 2 different things." Taiho stared at her. She was right. They had been so focused on recreating Earth's atmosphere that they never considered other possibilities. "What are you suggesting?" "Work with the planet's air instead of against it," Nari said. "Find a way to make it safe for humans without completely changing it." But I don't know how to do that, Taiho said. I do, Nari said. My people have lived on many different planets. We learned long ago that forcing environments to change creates more problems than it solves. We can adapt the air just enough to make it safe without fighting its natural properties. Taiho felt a spark of hope. Can you help me design something like that? Yes, Nari said. But it will require combining human engineering with Villani bioatmospheric techniques. And we do not have much time. They worked together through the night. Nari showed Taiho how to use biological filters instead of chemical ones. Instead of forcing chemical reactions, they would guide them gently. Instead of fighting the planet's natural air pressure, they would work with it. It was the hardest thing Taiho had ever done. He had to forget everything he knew about atmospheric processing and learn completely new methods. But Nari was patient, explaining each step and helping him understand concepts that human science had never developed. By morning, they had a design. It was unlike any atmospheric processor ever built. Part machine, part living system, it would work with the planet's air instead of against it. This is incredible, Taiho said, looking at their plans. But can we actually build it in time? We have to try, Nari said. They presented their design to Daun and the other engineers. Most of them looked skeptical. This is completely untested, one engineer said. We don't know if it will work. We know the current system doesn't work, Taiho said. This is our only chance. It's too risky, another engineer said. What if it fails? What if it makes the air worse? Then we evacuate just like we're planning to do anyway, Taiho said. But if it works, we save the colony. Dayun looked at the plans, then at Taiho and Nari. How long to build it? 6 hours, Taiho said. Maybe 7. And you really think this will work? Dayun asked. I think it's our only hope, Taiho said. Dayun made her decision. Do it. Everyone else, keep preparing for evacuation just in case. The next 6 hours were the most intense of Taiho's life. He and Nari worked together like they had been partners for years. She would suggest modifications using Villani bioscience, and he would figure out how to build them using human technology and materials. Other engineers helped, but they were clearly uncomfortable with the alien techniques. Some of them whispered that they were taking too big a risk trusting Nari. What if she's sabotaging us? One engineer asked Taiho quietly. Why would she do that? Taiho asked. She lives here too now. Who knows why aliens do anything? The engineer said. But Taiho had spent weeks with Nari. He had seen her genuine curiosity about humans, her careful attention to his needs, her excitement when they solved problems together. He trusted her. With 1 hour left before the evacuation deadline, they finished the new processor. It looked strange. Part mechanical, part organic, with flowing curves instead of hard angles. Ready? Taiho asked Nari. Ready, she said. They turned it on. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the machine began to hum softly like it was breathing. The airflow indicator showed it was working, but gently, without the violent chemical reactions of the old system. The air quality readings began to improve. Slowly at first, then faster. Within an hour, the air was completely safe for humans, and unlike the old system, the new processor showed no signs of overheating or stress. It's working, Daun said, staring at the readings. It's actually working. The other engineers gathered around, amazed. They had never seen anything like it. How did you know this would work? One of them asked Nari. Because we stopped fighting the planet and started working with it, Nari said. Sometimes the best solution is not to force change, but to find harmony. As news of their success spread through the colony, Taiho realized something important had happened. He and Nari had not just saved the colony, they had created something completely new by combining human and alien knowledge. And he was beginning to understand that Nari was much more than just a curious alien who wanted to be his maid. 3 days after saving the colony, Taiho was working in his apartment when strange visitors arrived. 2 tall Villani in formal robes stood at his door, their silver-blue skin gleaming and their expression serious. Behind them stood Jinwoo Choi, the colony's diplomat, looking very nervous. Taiho Kim, one of the Villani said in a voice that sounded like musical wind chimes. We are here for Nari. She must return with us immediately. Nari appeared from the kitchen, and her face went pale when she saw the visitors. Council members, she said, bowing deeply. I did not expect you. You were supposed to return weeks ago, the second Villani said. Your mission was to observe human behavior from a distance, not to become involved in their affairs. Tejo looked confused. Mission? What mission? The first Villani turned to him. Nari was sent to study your species. She was supposed to watch how humans work and think, then report back to us. She was not supposed to interfere with your technology or form personal attachments. Personal attachments? Tejo felt like he had been hit in the stomach. You mean she was lying to me? About wanting to be my maid? Not lying exactly, Nari said quietly, not meeting his eyes. But not telling you the complete truth either. Jinwoo stepped forward. Perhaps we should all sit down and discuss this calmly, he said. There are important diplomatic issues here. They moved to Taiho's living room. The Villani council members looked around with interest as if they were studying everything. Explain, Taiho said to Nari. What were you really doing here? Nari took a deep breath. My people have reached a point where we cannot advance anymore, she said. We are very logical and very intelligent, but we solve problems the same way every time. We have not had a major breakthrough in science or technology for thousands of years. So, Tejo asked. So we decided to study humans, the first council member said. Your species is young and often illogical, but you find solutions that we never consider. You use emotions and instincts in ways that produce surprising results. We wanted to understand how human minds work when facing difficult problems, Nari continued. I was sent to observe you specifically because your work record showed unusual creative thinking. Tejo felt betrayed. So this was all fake? You pretending to be interested in human culture? Wanting to be my maid, helping me with my work? No, Nari said quickly. That part was real. I was supposed to observe from far away. Maybe get a job in the colony where I could watch humans work. But when I met you, I became genuinely interested in your life and your work. The council is very displeased, the second Villani said. Nari was supposed to maintain emotional distance. Instead, she has become personally involved and shared Villani knowledge with humans. This was not part of the plan. But look what we accomplished, Nari said. Tejo and I working together created something neither of our species could have made alone. The atmospheric processor is better than anything humans or Villani have built separately. That is exactly the problem, the first council member said. You have given humans access to our bioatmospheric techniques. This changes the balance of power between our species. Jinwoo looked worried. Are you saying this creates diplomatic problems between humans and Villani? It could, the council member said. Some Villani believe that humans now have an unfair advantage. They want Nari to return immediately and share no more knowledge. Tejo stood up angrily. So you're just going to take her away? After everything we've been through? It is for the best, the second council member said. Emotional attachments between species lead to complications. I don't want to go, Nari said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. I have learned more in these past weeks than in years of traditional study. Working with Tejo has shown me possibilities I never imagined. You do not have a choice, the first council member said. You are Villani. You have duties to your people. What about duties to the truth? Nari asked. We came here to learn about humans. I have learned that they are not just creative problem solvers. They are natural bridge builders. They bring different groups together and find ways for everyone to benefit. That is exactly what we wanted to study, the council member said, and now you have learned it. Time to return and share that knowledge with our people. But there is so much more to learn, Nari said, and so much more we can accomplish together. Tejo had been listening to all this with growing anger. Finally, he spoke up. This is crazy. Nari helped save our entire colony. Our atmospheric processor design could help humans live on dozens of planets. And you want to stop this because you're worried about some kind of balance of power? You do not understand the complexities of interspecies relations, the council member said. Maybe not, Tejo said. But I understand that Nari and I work well together. We make each other better. Isn't that worth something? Personal feelings cannot override diplomatic considerations, the second council member said. What if they didn't have to? Tejo asked. What if there was a way for humans and Villani to work together officially? Not secretly, not through spying, but as real partners. Jinwoo sat up straighter. What are you suggesting, Tejo? I'm suggesting that instead of Villani studying humans in secret, we find ways to collaborate openly, Tejo said. Nari and I proved that our species can create amazing things together. Why not make that the new normal? Impossible, the first council member said. Villani have always maintained careful distance from other species. And how has that worked out for you? Tejo asked. You said yourselves that you haven't had a major breakthrough in thousands of years. Maybe it's time to try something different. Nari looked up with hope in her purple eyes. Tejo is right. Traditional Villani methods have reached their limits, but working with humans opens up completely new possibilities. The other colonies are already asking about our atmospheric processor design, Jinwoo said thoughtfully. If we could offer them technology that combines human and Villani knowledge, it would be incredibly valuable. And dangerous, the council member said. Only if we approach it with fear and suspicion, Tejo said. But if we approach it with trust and mutual respect, it could benefit everyone. The room went quiet. The Villani council members looked at each other, having some kind of silent conversation. Nari sat very still, waiting for their decision. Finally, the first council member spoke. This would require approval from the highest levels of Villani government, and there would have to be careful safeguards and agreements. But you'll consider it? Tejo asked. We will discuss it, the council member said. But Nari must still return with us while these discussions take place. No, Nari said firmly. If you want to study human-Villani cooperation, I need to stay here and continue working with Tejo. You cannot learn about partnership by separating the partners. Tejo felt proud of her for standing up to her own people. She's right. If you want to understand what we can accomplish together, you have to let us keep working together. The second council member looked frustrated. This is highly irregular. So was saving a human colony with Villani bioscience, Nari said. Sometimes irregular solutions are the best ones. Jinwoo cleared his throat. Perhaps we could arrange a temporary agreement. Nari could continue her research while proper diplomatic channels are established. The council members looked at each other again. 1 month, the first one said finally. Nari has 1 month to demonstrate whether this cooperation truly benefits both species. If not, she returns with us permanently. And if it does benefit both species, Tejo asked. Then we will have much to discuss, the council member said. After the Villani left, Tejo and Nari sat in silence for a long time. Are you angry with me? Nari asked. For not telling you the truth about why I came here? Tejo thought about it. I'm hurt that you didn't trust me with the truth. But I understand why you couldn't tell me at first. And everything good that happened between us was real, right? Very real, Nari said. More real than anything I had experienced before. Then we have 1 month to prove that humans and Villani can work together as equals, Tejo said. Think we can do it? Nari smiled for the first time since the council members had arrived. With you as my partner, I think we can do anything. 1 month later, Tejo stood in front of a room full of humans, Villani, and even representatives from 3 other alien species. His hands were shaking slightly as he prepared to give the most important presentation of his life. 6 weeks ago, I was just an engineer trying to fix a broken atmospheric processor, he began. Today, Nari and I are here to show you what becomes possible when different species work together as true partners. Behind him, a large screen showed their latest creation. It was not just an atmospheric processor anymore. It was a complete environmental harmony system that could adapt any planet's conditions to support multiple species safely. Our original atmospheric processor was designed using a combination of human, engineering, and Villani bioscience, Tejo continued. But that was just the beginning. Nari stepped forward to join him. Over the past month, she had become more confident speaking to mixed groups. We realized that each species sees environmental problems differently, she said. Humans focus on adapting the environment to meet their needs. Villani focus on adapting themselves to work with the environment. Both approaches have value. So we created something that does both, Tejo said. A system that makes small changes to planetary conditions, while also helping different species adapt to those conditions. He clicked to the next slide, showing test results from 5 different planets. We've tested this on worlds with acidic atmospheres, high radiation, extreme temperatures, and toxic gases. In every case, the system successfully created safe conditions for humans, Villani, and 3 other species. Dayun Lee, who was now the head of colonial development, raised her hand. What about cost and complexity? Can normal colonies actually build and maintain these systems? That's the best part, Nari said. Because the system works with natural planetary processes instead of fighting them, it's actually simpler and less expensive than traditional terraforming. A Vellani council member spoke up. This is impressive, but what does it really prove about interspecies cooperation? Tejo had been expecting this question. It proves that we're better together than apart. Neither humans nor Vellani could have created this alone, but more than that, it proves that cooperation doesn't have to mean one species giving up its advantages to help another. How so? Asked a representative from the Cathani species, whose people breathed methane instead of oxygen. Because our system doesn't just help humans and Vellani, Tejo explained. It creates environments where multiple species can thrive together. We tested it with Cathani atmospheric needs too. The system found ways to create zones where all three species could live and work in the same colonies. Yejin Han, a Vellani diplomat who had been working with Jin Wu Choi on the cooperation agreements, stood up. What you're suggesting would change everything about how species interact. Instead of separate colonies and careful diplomatic distance, you're talking about truly mixed communities. Exactly, Nari said. For too long, different species have assumed that cooperation means conflict, that helping others means giving up something for yourself. But what if that's wrong? What if cooperation actually makes everyone stronger? Tejo added. What if the best solutions come from combining different perspectives instead of choosing between them? A human scientist from another colony raised his hand. This sounds wonderful in theory, but what about practical concerns? Cultural differences, communication problems, conflicting interests? Tejo smiled. 6 weeks ago, I thought having an alien maid was the strangest thing that could happen to me. Now I can't imagine working without Nari. Yes, we had to learn to understand each other. Yes, we had to find ways to bridge our differences, but those challenges made us both better at what we do. The key is not to eliminate differences, but to use them creatively, Nari said. Tejo approaches problems with intuition and emotion. I approach them with logic and analysis. Neither approach is wrong, but together they're more powerful than either one alone. Jinwoo stood up. I think what Tejo and Nari are proposing is not just a new technology, but a new model for how species can relate to each other. Instead of the traditional approach of careful separation and limited cooperation, they're suggesting full partnership, with proper safeguards and agreements. Of course, Yejin added quickly. The Vellani council member who had come to take Nari away a month earlier raised his hand. And what about the concern that sharing advanced technology gives unfair advantages to less developed species? That assumes cooperation is a competition, Tejo said. But what if it's not? What if sharing knowledge and working together creates new advances that benefit everyone? He clicked to another slide showing proposals from other colonies. In the past month, we've received requests from 12 human colonies, 6 Vellani settlements, and 4 mixed communities. They all want to try our environmental harmony systems. But more than that, they want to set up their own human-Vellani research partnerships. The demand is already there, Nari said. Species want to work together. They're just waiting for someone to show them how. A young human engineer in the audience stood up. So what happens next? If we agree to this, what does it actually look like? Tejo and Nari looked at each other and smiled. They had spent many late nights discussing exactly this question. We propose creating the first official interspecies research institute, Tejo said. A place where humans, Vellani, and any other interested species can work together on projects that benefit everyone. Not as separate groups sharing information, Nari added, but as true partners working side by side. We already have our first major project, Tejo said. 3 colonies are dealing with problems that traditional single-species solutions can't solve. We want to bring together mixed teams to tackle these challenges. Daeyun stood up. The Colonial Council has already voted to support this proposal. We're prepared to provide funding and facilities for the Institute. The Vellani Council member looked surprised. And the Vellani High Council? Yejin smiled. Based on the success Tejo and Nari have demonstrated, the High Council voted yesterday to approve a 5-year trial program for interspecies research cooperation. The room buzzed with excited conversation. Representatives from different species began talking to each other about potential projects and partnerships. There's one more thing, Nari said, raising her voice to get everyone's attention. Tejo and I have been asked to be the first co-directors of the Institute, equal partners leading a new kind of cooperation between our species. 6 weeks ago, I was a lonely engineer who couldn't keep his apartment clean, Tejo said, getting laughs from the audience. Today, I'm part of something that could change how species interact throughout the galaxy. All because one curious alien decided she wanted to understand how humans work. And because one creative human was willing to trust an alien who showed up at his door in the middle of the night, Nari added. After the presentation, as people crowded around to ask questions and discuss partnerships, Taiho and Nari found themselves standing together near the window. "Do you think we did it?" Taiho asked. "Do you think we really proved that different species can work together?" "I think we proved something even more important," Nari said. "We proved that when different types of minds work together with trust and respect, they can create things that neither could imagine alone." "So what's next for us?" Taiho asked. Nari smiled, her purple eyes bright with excitement. "Next, we build something amazing. Together." Outside the window, they could see construction beginning on the new Interspecies Research Institute. Humans and Villani were already working side by side, turning their shared vision into reality. What had started as a simple arrangement between an overworked engineer and a curious alien had become something much bigger. A new way for different species to reach for the stars, together, and in his apartment that evening. As Nari prepared another one of her perfectly balanced meals, Taiho realized that he had found something he never knew he was looking for. Not just a research partner, not just someone to help keep his life organized, but a true friend who made him better at everything he did. The galaxy was full of different species with different abilities and different ways of thinking. But perhaps the most human thing of all was the ability to bring those differences together and create something wonderful from them. As Nari had learned during her time studying humans, they were natural bridge builders, and bridges once built could carry traffic in both directions.